Now I know, Nick, that there are different kinds of loans people can get,
Hmm.
and there's conventional, there's VA,
Correct.
FHA, and then Kentucky. Is it Kentucky Rural Housing? Is that how you would call it? I've heard it called a
Right.
couple different things. Is that the best way to?
So there's rural housing. So there's loan options for a bunch of different types of down payment options, as
Okay.
well as where an individual's credit is. If you're a veteran,
All right. Well, okay. Well, let me ask you this. Like, so
sure.
typically, what kind of person does a conventional loan work for the best? I mean, just somebody, I guess, is not a
Yeah.
veteran. That's. I mean, help me
Sure.
understand which what is the ideal client for, like, say, conventional first.
Sure. Conventional is going to be somebody who's tends to be a little bit a better credit profile.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that somebody with a lesser credit profile, is bad by any means. But somebody with a better credit profile, as a general rule, is what we would be looking for on that. In some cases, the purchase price of a home, if it's above a certain threshold, sometimes we have to go conventional.
Okay. Now, normally with conventional, they're looking at probably 3% down. Is that right, or
Depends.
that depends? But that okay?
I'd say 3 to 5%.
3 to 5. Okay.
It depends on
Okay.
the individual. Really depends if you've owned a home
Okay.
in the last few years, amongst other
Okay.
items.
Now, if I'm a veteran or my spouse is a veteran,
Mhm.
do we still need a down payment?
So it depends.
Okay.
Once again,
All right.
the biggest thing is the Department of Veterans Affairs keeps all those records. So the biggest thing we would do is pull what we have on file to determine what a veteran is eligible for.
Guess if you went AWOL, that would not be good. That would not be good for your veteran.
They'll
So,
track you down.
all
That's
right.
right.
But do some veterans get loans without having a down payment?
In some cases, they
Some
do.
cases they
That's
do.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So FHA.
Hmm.
So now, particularly the difference between FHA, we'll say, and conventional.
Hmm.
Now, typically FHA would be somebody who might not have as high a credit score. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
We go FHA for a variety of different reasons, though.
Okay.
So it could be, somebody would like to buy a little bit more home. A conventional has a little bit strict tolerances with your budget, so to
Okay.
speak. So sometimes it's that, sometimes it's home type. But yes, as a general rule, somebody who would go an FHA route would need a little bit of credit help.
Okay. So
Generally speaking.
generally speaking, if my credit score is a little bit lower,
Mhm.
FHA might be a better fit for me. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. And really, we would want to take that individual and see where they are. And,
Okay.
a lot of first time buyers are FHA, and then
Mhm.
repeat buyers become conventional. So there's nothing
Okay.
wrong with FHA.
Now, as far as the down payment, is there any really difference between FHA and conventional, or?
They're about the same.
Okay.
For a first time buyer, what I would really kind of talk about is the down payment assistance program that's out there.
Okay.
KHC has, they provide kind of down payment assistance for first time buyers. Great
Okay.
program. Wish I had it
Okay.
as a first time buyer. So that would be kind of the starting point for a lot of
Okay.
clients.
All right. So now explain rural housing to me.
Mhm.
Kentucky rural housing. Now, what's the typical client that would have use a Kentucky rural housing mortgage?
Sure. Rural housing has strict income requirements, as well as strict geographic requirements. So
Okay.
you couldn't buy, as an example, in Fayette County, and in some
So
cases,
you couldn't buy the home in Fayette County through
Correct.
Kentucky rural. Okay.
That's correct. So rural housing is really meant to spur those rural development, those communities that are in a rural area.
Jessamine County is good.
In most areas, it is, yes. What we would do is
All right.
take a look at that individual address to make sure it's an eligible property. But yes, that's correct.
So location makes a big difference with Kentucky rural. Now, will I need the same kind of normally 3 to 5% down with Kentucky rural, or?
So it depends on, you can even go lower than that in some cases. So again, it's kind of a case by case. USDA, or the rural housing, tends to have some of the higher credit standards that are out there. So again, individualized quote, but they tend to have the lesser down payments of the other loan programs. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. So anyway, well, that helps. Thank you.